Hey everybody, thanks for joining me today. I'm just going to show you a really quick technique that I learned from Gina K Designs and Stamp TV, and I've used it a couple of times. Well, more than a couple of times. I really like it. It's the bleaching technique, and here's some of the things that you're going to need to complete this. First, you're going to need a stamp, and I'm using one of the stamps from Gina K Designs and Stamp TV's A Year in Flowers by Melanie Mulchinger. And so make sure you have it on an acrylic block and ready to go. I'm going to use some Versamark ink. I'm going to use, of course, to remove any static or dirt or anything from the surface of the card, I'm going to use my embossing buddy. And then you're going to need some bleach. And just go down to your laundry room and grab a little bleach, put it in a container, but just make sure that it is it's new bleach, not something that you've had stored in a container, because you really want to make sure that it is fresh in order to get the best result when you're bleaching your image. And then I'm using a watercolor, real fine tip pen, paintbrush or brush. And so every once in a while when I do watercolors, I use a separate brush. So make sure that if you are going to do this technique often, you really don't want to mix the bleach with your watercolors because it's going to really impact the color of your paper or your image. And I've only really tried this in darker colors. I haven't tried it in lighter colors or anything yet, so I'm kind of anxious to see what comes of it. And then use some sort of embossing powder, and I'm using the black fine embossing powder from Ranger. So, and also you're going to need an embossing gun. So let's get started. So what you want to do first is, of course, remove any oil or dirt from your cardstock using your embossing buddy, embossing pad, whatever you may use. Everybody uses something different. You can even use a dryer sheet. When I first started out working in creating cards, that's what I used because it was cheap, it was easy, and it was quick. And then one day I came across this and said I have to at least give it a try, and it's the best thing yet that I have found. Now, of course, what I just did is just ran my finger across it, which you're not supposed to do. So what you're going to want to do now is stamp your image onto your cardstock. So let's get a little bit closer here so you can see what I'm talking about. So as you can see, there's a little bit of static pad dust, as I like to call it, on there. So, and bear with me as I try to figure this whole thing out here. What you want to do is get your Versamark pad, and I'll pull back just a little bit. Get your Versamark pad and your stamp, and then ink it up. Now what I do, sorry for that camera shake. Now what I do usually, if I'm going to be stamping any image onto a piece of cardstock and it has a number of different images, or if I want to scatter it around, what I do is I try to create something in the middle first and just have that as kind of my center as I create the image. So, oops. What I'm going to do is focus in a little bit more so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to stamp it up again, or ink it up again, sorry. Do my first image. I don't press really super hard. I know some people do. But you can see that. See, there's a nice image to it. And then just go and stamp it in various places. And that's really up to you, however you want to stamp your image onto your cardstock. Completely up to you. It's a matter of taste, as I say. So now that I'm doing that, I always, one tip that I can give you is I always take my Versamark ink pad, and before I emboss it, I always put my top back on. As you see, mine's still fairly clean, and I think the reason why is, number one, because I'm really diligent about cleaning my stamps, but number two, sometimes when you're using your embossing gun and some of the loose embossing powder kind of flies in the air. And if this thing is open, where do you think it's going to go? Right all over the top of it. And then the next time you use it, you're going to have some of that embossing powder still on your Versamark pad. So my tip, just put it away or put the cover on top of it. So what I'm going to do now is put the embossing powder on. And what I do is I always keep it in, now that you've seen the image, I'm going to expand a little bit. I always keep my embossing powder in some sort of a container, and the reason why I do that is because it just creates less mess for me. Because, let's face it, I'm a guy, and guys like to make a mess. Okay, so I'm going to put the embossing powder on it. I just like to tap it, and then blow the excess off. Okay. Now, let's put this thing to the test by heating it up. And I usually let my heat gun run for a few seconds, so I apologize if there's going to be a lot of noise in the background. As you can see, there is some embossing powder on there. So, again, glad I closed my pad. So, just heat up your image. And I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you, the cardstock that I'm using is from is the Gina K Designs Pure Luxury Chocolate Brown cardstock. And you know, I really like Gina's products, as you know from my first video. And one of the reasons why I like it is because the quality really is great, especially for heat embossing. I find that it doesn't curve as much as regular paper does. So again, just really love this stuff. And love her product, because it really is top quality. So, once your image is embossed, now, you know, with your heat tool, one thing you can do is you can either use your hands and be brave, or sometimes if I know it's going to be a fine image, I try to use some sort of a tweezer. And I bought these Making Memories tweezers, craft tweezers. I could have used it, but I just wanted to be tough in front of you girls. And guys, I know guys do this, obviously, because I'm doing it. So, I apologize for that. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is I'm going to get a close-up again. And we're going to start bleaching this piece of cardstock here. Wow, that was a really Minnesota way of saying it, wasn't it? Here. I sound like I'm from Fargo, the movie Fargo. Okay, so grab your bleach. And then what you want to do is make sure, again, that it's clean bleach. And I usually don't take a lot of, put a lot of bleach on the tip of my paintbrush. I just dip it in. And then what you want to do is make sure that the image is covered really nicely. You're not going to saturate it at all, but you're going to get in and in all the nice lines. Now, of course, this stamp is really nice, has some great lines to it, and then embosses really well. So it's really easy to do this image, and you want to stay within the lines because, like anything, it's the bleach touches something, it's going to turn it a different color. So just be careful as you're doing it. But you know, again, using one of these pens or one of these paintbrushes, the one thing I like about it is it has a really nice fine tip to it, so it gets into all those areas that you need it to go into, but it's a really great coverage as well. So I'm just going to finish this up now. I'm not going to do the whole card because I do have a sample that I completed. And another thing about me too is when I do a card, I usually do 2 or 3 of the same one. And you say, why? And I say, because I always like to have one on hand. I mean, I have a picture of them, you know, obviously, because I post them on the my Pinterest and my Facebook page and obviously my blog. but I need a hard sample in front of me. So I have a couple on hand. Anyway, so what we're going to do now is you could either let this air dry or you can take your heat gun to it. And so we're going to do that right now. Oops, something's falling off in the background. And just heat it up just a little bit. As you can see, it's drying. Okay, so once you get that completely dry and you filled in all the other images on your or all the other stamps on your card, your images on your card, you're ready to, I guess, just make the rest of your card. Now everybody has their own taste and style and what they want to do, and obviously I love what Gina does, so I did do a card very similar to the one that she had in her sample video. So all of the products that you're seeing here are from Gina K Designs, and you can go to the Stamp TV store and purchase any of the stamps, papers, and product there. Again, I'm just a big fan of their product. So that's my first stop in any of my online shopping, just to make sure that they have them. So, of course, used my Spellbinders circle to cut it out, and I laid that actually under the image. And what I did is I took the bleached flowers that I just did, obviously, and layered it on top of some of the Gina K Designs Pure Luxury layering weight. I believe it's 80 pound. And then laid that on top of, or adhered that to, another piece of a little larger chocolate brown cardstock. Of course, a stamp of mine, or a card of mine, would not be absolutely complete without some of the designer paper by Gina K. So, of course, in one of my Stamp TV kits, I used one of the pattern papers on top of a piece of chocolate brown cardstock, and then used a very hard, very firm 120 pound white cardstock that Gina has. I love the quality of these papers and cardstocks. So that is it. It's simple, it's quick, it's easy. So I'd love to see what you do with your bleaching technique. So go ahead, start your technique, and then go ahead and post it on our Facebook page, or send it to me. All the information on where you can find me is going to be listed below this video. So anyway, I'll be coming up with a new technique soon, and another video will probably come out in another week. So thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. See you. Bye.